Giving life for an instant, I tasted your tears. Oh, gods of the sky, wash away your dust and all of these fears. Oh, rain, oh, rain, oh, rain, oh, rain.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the second day of the Acsee Summit. This is the 15 minutes countdown until we start. Welcome. Get your tea together, your beer. And let's learn today about the state of the new media art and its future education. Today is Monday, 17th of August 2020. Winter in Brazil, summer in Europe, summer in China.
Melted into grandfather, grandmother, daughter, lover, sister, brother, mother, child. Let your tears fall to the mountain valleys of your grandfather, grandmother, daughter, lover, sister, brother, mother, child. Let your tears fall to the golden canyons of your grandfather, grandmother, daughter, lover, sister, brother, mother, child. Let your tears fall to the desert longing of your grandfather, grandmother, daughter, lover, sister, brother, mother, child. Let your tears fall to the mountain valley.
You can join our Zoom call to make questions directly to the guests. It's a real pleasure to be here with you, myself, Pedro Zaz, and together with Vijay Speto, we will be introducing all the guests to you. We welcome you in our Zoom meeting. You can participate live with us. We have now 5 minutes to go. 5 minutes to go. Get your drinks ready. A big shout out to everyone who's out there listening to us. Ni hao to China. Welcome, Leo. You can join our Zoom call, make questions. So, we are now 3 minutes to go. I want to welcome you all to the second day of the ACC Summit 2020. Today, with a focus on education. We have a great panel of guests. We have now 1 minute to go. With you to introduce the festival. The time is coming, only a few seconds left. And now with you, the great VJ Spieto from the United VJs.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ACC Summit 2020. We invite you everyone for the second day of maybe nights, at least in Brazil it's day, and in Chinese nights, of our new media summit, of your new 100% online media summit. We have here artists and teachers, people that works and breathe creativity.
Hello，大家好，欢迎来到 ACC 2020峰会的第二天。我们今天邀请了更多的艺术家来探讨他们的工作，他们的工作当中所充满的创造。
I'm Vijay Speto. I'm speaking from Brazil. I'm founder of United VJs and VJ University. And now I want to explain you the meaning of ACC. ACC means Arts Residence, Competition, Summit, Exhibition, Education.
所以我来自于巴西圣保罗，我想向大家解释一下 ACCC 的所代表的含义。A 代表了艺术家土地 ，C 代表了大赛 ，S 代表了峰会 ，E 代表了展览，加 V 代表了小组。
At the beginning of this year, we are in Datong to promote the first video mapping competition in China. We had participants from all around the world, and please let's watch the video doc that we did by the occasion.
"在北京，一场庆祝中华人民共和国成立70周年光影灯光秀在中央电视塔上演。
以"我和祖国共成长，同心共筑中国梦"2个篇章为主题，展现新中国70年来的辉煌成就。
6K 的超高清的一个震撼的巨幅的画面，全部要投到这个墙上去。
中国首届国际光影大赛开幕，省委常委、大同市委书记张吉福宣布开幕。
Hello, everyone. To be in that time was really, really nice experience. It was so cold, like 35 degrees under zero, but that's okay. People are really warm in that place. Now I want to call our great friend Jimmy Choi, one of the founders of the ACC Summit 2020 and part also of United VJs Asia. Please, Jimmy Choi. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. I'm Jimmy Choi from China. I'm the ACC Festival founder. And this year, we made China the first Thai International Video Mapping Festival. And very interesting, amazing was that we got 28 countries and 102 artists, and 71 from outside, 31 from China. So, and we also got 4 winners from other festival. So it is amazing. Hello, Pedro. Here you are.
Wow, here I am. Thank you, Jimmy. Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro Zaz. I'm from the United VJs, ACC founder, a lot of cool and futuristic stuff. But today we are not here to talk about ourselves. This was just a little introduction so you understand where you are. Today it's about education. This is the second day of the ACC Summit 2020. I am making little pauses because there is Jeff translating to us, to all our Chinese audience. Thank you, Jeff. And now, I would like to tell you what happened yesterday, the day one. We had a great panel, and somehow everyone agreed that game engines are the future. And education. Education, it's really important. This is why we have our second day today. And now, to start with the first guests, we have Chandor from Paris. Can we have Chandor? Hello, Chandor. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
I think you have a great internet. You have a
Yes,
1
I have.
gigabyte upload internet.
I do.
Guys, this is historical. I don't think this has happened many times. So if you understand about these things, Chandor has a 1 gigabyte upload internet. So he's able to play video with audio smoothly, right? So
Yes.
this is a little glimpse from the future. I let you now with Chandor, and it's a pleasure to have you here. The mic is with you.
Thank you. First of all, I'm so excited to be here with you, and thank you, Pedro, and thank you, ACC Festival, to invite me to speak. So I will try to get short pauses so Jeff can translate. And thank you again, Jeff, to make it available to all the Chinese audience. So my talk, I divided in 2 parts. First part, it will be really the talk about our workflow, about how we do this, actually, about how we prototype all the media experience and everything. And the second part, it will be a couple of projects and how we approached them. One project is a permanent installation, and the other one is a live VG for an artist. So let's dive in directly into this. So my talk today is about prototyping hybrid media experiences. And my tool of choice is Type Designer. So just a couple of words about myself, just to show you something. So I created a studio. It's called the OVA Studio. It's a live art studio based in Paris. So you can check it out. And the work we do is very, very kind of very diverse. It's, for example, this is an exhibition in Milan during the Triennale of Design. It's the same exhibition. The same, it's projection mapping with a really conceptual work behind it. It's a collaboration between OVA Studio, well, myself, and a renowned French architect, Catherine Mosbach, that designed, by the way, designed the Louvre, the gardens of Louvre, and designed the Central Park of Taiwan. We also work a lot with brands, and so we prototyped a lot of things for our friends from Heineken, from the beer company, as you know. And so we do a lot of work for them because they're a very future-oriented brand. So I'll just show a couple of things. It's just prototype. And it's a proof of concept. It's a small scale. It's kind of a 6 meter by 2, but it really hybrid. It has a practical lights, it has a LED pixel mapping, and it has a projection mapping in the screens. And it has a motor control because it's actually the footage. It's not 3D. It's a real one. We work a lot of, as I told, we work a lot with brands. So this is a famous French Lacoste brand. And we made for them 360, well, it was a little bit less. It was like 300 degrees projection mapping for 80 years anniversary for this brand. Sorry. It's still there. So it's a picture from Milano during the Fashion Week. And we work also a lot with live shows. So this is a acrobatic company. It's called Le Farfadet. It's basically the Cirque du Soleil, by the way. A lot of acrobats from this company works in Cirque du Soleil and vice versa. So we do a lot of live show, kind of light design and conceptual art. And we work a lot for the museums. This is for a new installation we are right now prototyping for Louvre in Lens. So it's in the north of France. It's an audio installation, immersive audio. And we do some industrial design too. This is just a seating. It's generated, everything is generated also basically, first of all, in Type Designer, everything is prototyped there. And yeah, and this is the live show too, immersive 270 degrees live show. And this is a projection mapping on the building. And this is the animation movie that we did, an extension of experience So it's really diverse. Another projection mapping for Heineken again. So as you can see, we only do pretty much the hybrid installations that mixes sound, light, projection mapping. It's never really pure one thing. And that's why I wanted to talk to you today in a couple of words about prototyping. So it's why prototype? Actually, just one example. It's from a famous TED talk from a Google executive of Moonshot division, Astra Teller. So the failure is an option. So the earlier you catch the things that don't work, basically, the less time you spend to debug it and to try to solve something perhaps that will not work with public or with anyone. So, for example, he tells, don't just tell people to embrace failure, reward them. So you really need to celebrate failure. At MIT, they also do a lot of iteration of projects before arriving to have some kind of a final version that works. So this is the first point of the importance of prototyping before going to production. That involves money, time, and nerves, actually. And the second part is the kind of you all know what is design thinking, so it's kind of a 5 steps. I wanted to apply it to media design thinking, is to ask the right question before actually going to do anything. And this is coming from experience. Because the most important part is to ask the question, what experience I want people basically to experience, what I'm trying to do at the end. It's not just because, for example, it's very fashionable to do interactive stuff today. But it's really rare, in my experience, that interaction really has any meaning. At least if the client come in with the project and normally he says, I want it to be interactive. My first question always is why? What are you trying to achieve? And I have rarely heard a good answer on that. Normally, it's because I want some wow effect. Or I want to be, let's say, in the air of time. As far as I'm concerned, those are not good answers. Because the user or the spectator or the guest or whoever, he will not be aware about all those communications. He just wants to get an experience. If it makes sense, interaction, if it's natural, of course, by all means, you absolutely should implement it. But if not, perhaps your time and money would be rather spent on better stuff, on actual quality of your media or installation, I don't know, whatever. So this is my first point. The second point is why Touch Designer is basically because you never better served but by yourself. And I was looking for a tool for a long time that allows me actually this freedom. And as you could see, our project is really ranging from cinematic animation to live show production. And with Touch Designer, I can actually prototype pretty much everything. Let's see. So, for example, I did some kind of a listing. It's absolutely non-exhaustive and it's not complete, but it's just the domains in which you can work with Touch Designer very effectively. So, it's a classic 3D, all the tools. So it's basically just a 3D rendering. The video, treatment, processing, is the audio. So it's a direct link with Ableton, with other software, or you can pretty much create your own launcher and synthesizer inside of Touch Designer, as did Owen Corby from Montreal with his synthesizer. So you can work with light, with practical light, with the moving heads, with LEDs, so colors, position, everything. You can work with lasers. Of course, already there are 3 or 4 models with direct native support in Touch Designer. You can control everything by pretty much all the protocols you can imagine. So you can go, today you can incorporate web inside with a web server and the web client and the web API. You can incorporate sensors. So it's direct, and especially in our COVID time, touchless interactions with a lot of things. So it's with Kinects, with pressure, with photo sensors. Of course, you have a generative rendering, so it's all the creative coding. It's a GLSL, it's shaders. You can also create the user interfaces and user experience. At least you can prototype it effectively. Then you have a streaming services, and you can extend Touch Designer by all means. So it's just a really non-exhaustive list of what you can do with Touch Designer, and we choose it as a primary tool for everything. The next point I want to board is, I'm trying to get a little bit shorter. It's a modular prototyping. It's like we all do. Sometimes we're in a hurry and we don't have time. And so we hard code it. So on your left side, you can see the hard coding. It's basically everything thrown around and connected and things. But on the right side, you have a modular. So you create a module for everything. And then you can connect and reuse those modules. So just a quick comparison of what it means. So hard coding is quicker, but modular is more usable and reusable especially. And it's really important because it takes a lot of time to develop your own tools. Then I would like to just a quick overview of a couple of workflows. this is the workflows that you all know and you all work with. So for example, artist live background, okay, for example, for a show, it's basically the VJ workflow. So you need just to create a high performance video switcher, that's it. For example, architectural projection. And the architectural projection, so you can, it's basically mapping workflow. And you need to create a high performance cam rendering and warping engine. And so you have a LED installation, you have a pixel mapping workflow, and you need to translate animation into DMX channel to the right channels. But those are kind of a pure workflows. But the hybrid workflows are modified. So artist live background with audio reaction. So we have live component in it. So we have an interaction and we have an analysis. And so it's the biggest workflow, it's still VJ workflow. But then we have a video processing workflow, we have interactive workflow, and we have an audio workflow. And we create a high performance, basically high performance video switcher with interactive and with interactive video. And so we can modify, just to go quicker, we can modify all the workflows to get this stuff done. I will just get it on the video so you can rewatch it afterwards about it. And so, yeah, the last point is prototype to production, because nothing is universal. Well, even if Touch Designer come damn close to this. And so sometimes, not even sometimes, but in a lot of cases, we prototype everything in Touch Designer, but we don't keep in production model everything Touch Designer. For example, what to keep, what to externalize. The most common case, in our case, it's the internal, is the user interface prototype. So normally in production, we use Node.js with OSC. If we need to prototype, if you need to do LED pixel mapping, we do it with a little bit of a hardware to make it more robust. If we do the audio launcher, we replace normally by Ableton Live or some external, some Merge Innovation. There are a couple of software that can do this, etc. I will, once again, I will just put it on video so you can check it out afterwards. So previous tool for content creators and subset of audio. So, and sometimes, yeah, this is the last point, and I will kind of show you the patch, because I'm not sure that I have time to show you everything. So this is the important part, that we do a lot of things. Yes, they say me I have just one video. I will show you the patch, and this is the patch that we create for the content creator. For example, we normally collaborate with someone, and we do it together. And to preview all the stage, all the scene, we use the Touch Designer prototype that we deliver so they can preview. For example, I will just put it on the screen. This is the Touch Designer patch that we created for the content creator, for the, and so you can see the kind of the video mapping that was done, immersive video mapping, immersive projection more. So we created a couple of screens that we were using, couple of configuration, how we were using this. And as you can see, we have a calibration. This is the calibration UE, or you can have a kind of a, it's a live input from this computer. It's another Touch Designer instance. And so you can see I can, for example, I can change in the another Touch Designer input a live video, how to preview everything. And so you can see just I can, for example, I can change in those in the another Touch Designer input a live video, how to preview everything. And so you can see just I can, for example, I can change in the another Touch Designer input a live video, how to preview everything. And so you can see just and how it will look in real time. And with a lot of stage configuration as we did. So I'm not sure that I have time for anything, just one small video for the project that we did for Paris. And so I'll just put it quickly, sorry, and I'm done. This is also the hybrid experience that we created for French government to visualize the evolution of Paris until 2040. So this is basically the future of transport in Paris with the new lines and the new developments. And so we're using Node.js web app. As you can see, everything is controlled from iPad. And this is a projection mapping, pixel mapping, audio launcher, generative video screens. So yeah, this is a permanent installation until 2024. So that's basically it. And just the last chord. Thank you for your attention. And I'm sorry it was too short.
Hello, 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 Spito. I think you need to unmute.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry, guys. Um, so thanks, Yandor, for your presentation. It was really fantastic to see how you utilize the touch designer. No, it was fantastic. So now we're gonna follow with the next speaker. It will be Evgeny Vachenko that talks with about mindwave architecture.
首先是感谢 Shader 向我们介绍所看的向我们介绍下一位嘉宾 Director 和 Music 关于他的一个脑电波建筑。
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to take part of this summit. Thank you. I will speak about my background, about my experience in the media art and with the approach of parametric design and parametric architecture. I have three basic backgrounds. First is a music school, also the painting school, and the master of architecture of public buildings. I work in the media art and in creation of sound composition and visual streams in real time. I use the artistic name v4w.enco for this. Basically, I create sound and visual compositions which could realize it in real time. I use Max MSP jitter software for this. I found this software as one really way to create multi-discipline projects. Because this software connects possibilities to generate visuals in real time, to generate sounds in real time, and to connect visuals and sounds with sensors and with the physical world. To create forms in physical world, I use another one software called Grasshopper 3D. Let me see the video number 1. In this video, we can see how the audio-visual installation with physical object works in real time. The real object is generated with software called Grasshopper 3D. Then the code was prototyped and realized in physical material. Grasshopper 3D allows to create it in physical world. For the generating sound and visuals in real time, I used Max MSP and jitter. I create my custom instruments which could generate sound and visuals in real time. And Grasshopper 3D and Max MSP are possible to connect each other. To connect these softwares to create the audio-visual compositions based on parametric forms, I use my professional skills in architecture background. Let me show you variations of the form. I'm sharing the screen. So what is mind-wave architecture inside parametric media art installation? It is possibilities to connect all the streams with mind-wave. Let me show you a little bit more. This is a form generated in Grasshopper 3D, and this form is used to be like a lighter. The form is generated from the magnetic field, which was modeled in the center of the room where we created these lights. And then the code just generated this form, and we used materials to make it in physical world. Let me see the video number 9. All these parameters which we can see is possible to manipulate in real time. When we have this physical object, it's just a snapshot from this data stream, and this snapshot is stored in the material. If we have this object in the physical world, we can make a visual mapping of this object by itself, and each detail could sound. To activate this mapping in real time, we can use mind wave sensor. Thank you for the video. Let me see the next frames of the slideshow of my screen. So this is a form is more complicated than we just seen before. This form is generated in 3D software, max MSP jitter. Jitter, the word which characterize the part of the software which could generate the visuals. This form is 3D, and it's possible to rotate, to fly in, to walk around. This form is alive. It could be melting and changing the form in real time. Because this form is really complicated to build in physical world, this form is better used in visual projection. This is a kind of experience when we used this form activated with mind wave sensor, and as well this form could produce the sound. The form is a kind of result of the 3D software and human mind stream of activity of the thinking process during the visitor watching this form. So each time the visitor visits this exhibition, the visitor communicates with this form with its own mind wave to create the collaboration in between form and mind and space and the sound. This is how it used to be with the mind wave. If we move steps before of creating this form, we have a kind of audiovisual space which could generated in real time with Maximus P and jitter in automatic mode. This next slide shows how this generative content could be used in different environments. It could be used like the wall when we get this composition like part of interior. Also, we can apply this content just into the screens. And as well, we could use this live content to make a projection mapping of the building. It was used to be one of the festival for the mapping in Ukraine called Kyiv Lights first edition. Let me see the video number 5. Let me show you the next slide. Here we can see how this composition, which consists from the only one code, could transform the space of the public environment. This code is just running on several computers, which is translating the visuals with visual projection and generating the sound. As well, it could be activated with mind wave sensor and or any kind of movement, interaction, motion capture. And it could produce really nice visuals because there is integrated part of color harmony and the music harmony inside. On the next slide, I will show you how this 3D object could transform the environment of the old room. This object is generated with Grasshopper, and it is just a snapshot of data stream we just made hold one point and translated it into the physical world. When this object was situated and realized in this old room, the environment was transformed for full. The perception and experience inside this room is changed a lot just by physical object. The physical object is generated in real time by using architectural scale harmonies. This is a process of prototyping. Let me see the video number 4.
Меня зовут Евгений Ващенко, я делаю здесь инсталляцию. Сегодня мы видим то, как объект заполняет пространство. Оси наполняются 3D-объектом, который мы переносим из цифрового мира в эту среду с помощью физического материала, технологий 3D-маппинга и саунд-дизайна. Олег Барановский, технический директор этого объекта. Также мы начинаем с ним коллаборировать по композиционной части. Объект почти готов, осталось настроить видеомаппинг и саунд-дизайн.
The mission of this object was to transform the old space. The next slide I will show you with another object we just seen in the beginning of this presentation. When we made a code, we can translate it into the physical world, and we can create the parametric audio-visual installation based on the parametric form, and we can activate this form with the mind wave. And as well, we can create a kind of parametric media screen, which could show us really abstract environment. Let me see the video number 8. Days. As well, we developed coding system to make a projection mapping. And in the next video, I will show you how the mind wave could activate the system. Let me see the video number 6.
So the name of the installation is Intersect. It's a kind of intersection in between of mind and reality it could produce, and in between reality it could analyze. When we switch on the sensor, it will produce the wave. Depends on your work or loudness of the field of brain, which is analyzed through the sensors. It produces the melody.
This is a research project in the Austrian Institute for Media Archaeology.
The sensor, sensor helmet, is it like developed for neuroscience, or?
So I can help.
Yes, you need to help me.
Professor of the institute is just testing the environment.
This picture is directed to understand where are you in your brain wave. So this is moment of now. Also
Now we listen the melody of the brainwave in the raw mode.
this is the process of now, and you can
So, okay. Just try if I'm saying something, it's changing.
When the person makes some movement, the environment reacts as well.
It's really interesting because normally it's so.
Thank you. I can also show the next slide.
Vashenko, thank you so much for your time. It was a real pleasure to have you here. I also have something in my head. It's a hat. Look at me. You know, I have a sticker from the United VJs, and I can have it in my hand. Real artificial, real artificial. You see? Real pleasure to have you here, Vashenko, from the Ukraine. We are now flying to Germany, to Berlin, somewhere in Kreuzköln. And I would like to welcome Stefan.
Oh. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Hi, Pedro.
Hi, Stefan.
So, shall we start? Yeah, my name is Stefan Kraus, and I'm gonna talk today about how the COVID pandemic has influenced our teaching effort. And the title of this talk is Teach a Man How to Fish, and He'll Eat for a Day. Teach a woman give a man a fish, and he'll eat for a day. Teach him how to fish, and he'll eat forever. And there's going to be like 4 parts in this talk. There's going to be an introduction of myself and what we do here at the Node Institute. Then I'm going to talk about how the pandemic has affected our work. I'm going to make a claim against specialization, and I'm going to give a little future outlook. Some things about me. I studied architecture at the Bauhaus University in Weimar, and after graduating, I teach there interaction design. I co-founded the Go News Loki Projection Mapping Festival, which is international projection mapping festival since 2012. I was always interested in live video performance, mainly to put media in space to create immersive experiences. And in recent years, my favorite software to do that has been Touch Designer. I'll show you just quickly a few personal projects that underline my passions. So here is like a live video performance, and with live I mean that the content that the audience sees is being created in the moment that the audience sees it. So it's a true live experience, which I find very cool to do it. It's a very good feeling, and it's a bit like jazz. Another thing I've been done a lot is projection mapping, and here you see the first projection mapping that we showed at the Genius Loki Festival in Weimar by Turkish crew Nerdworking. And another thing that I do a lot is creating stages for fashion shows, for concerts, and they're also always live performable. So whatever I do, there's always an element of VJing in it. And this has been my last bigger work. It's been shown to the opening of the Bauhaus Museum in Weimar. It's basically a line of LEDs, 5,000 pixel wide, 1 pixel high. The single parts of this sculpture can be rotated so they can go through choreography. And I found it very interesting to think about what live performed video content looks on a 5,000 by 1 pixel screen. So these things I've done as MX10. You can check out my website if you're interested. There's more works than I can show now. And the thing that I'm going to talk about today is the nodeinstitute.org. We're dedicating ourselves to the research, education, and network for visual programming in the field of immersive performances and interactive installations. It's been founded by David Brühl and myself. We have a shared studio here in Berlin that you see where, well, it's pretty empty at the moment because we're in the middle of the holiday season and it's 32 degrees outside. And here we organized community meetups, workshops, and online courses for the 2 major visual programming softwares, V4 and Touch Designer. This is how the place looks from the outside, minus the big typo on the roof. And this is how it looks inside. This is a V4 meeting that we were hosting because my partner David is very active in the V4 community, and we kind of tackle that whole topic of interactive programming, education, networking from 2 sides, from V4 and from Touch Designer, because we find that basically these programs are very similar. Before, my friend Chandra, greetings to Paris, has already introduced Touch Designer to the whole. It's a real-time 3D engine. It works on Mac, on PC. And I always call it's about the art of control, right? You can connect everything with everything, interface, sensors, hardware, lights, music, whatever you come up with, and you can create custom software from it. Yes, we all know that game engines are the future, but game engines don't really care about the real world. And that's why these node programs are kind of at the core of experiences that melts together the real space and the virtual space to kind of hybrid experiences. Touch Designer has been produced by Derivative, a Canadian company. And basically the claim is to open up the world of interactive programming to artists and designers who don't have like a code education, and to whom the visual programming opens up this world of interaction. This is a very iconic work that's been created with Touch Designer by Berlin studio White Void called Deep Web, and it illustrates how you can coordinate lights, motion, motors, music, lasers into one instrument that can be performed live, which is, I think, very important with this work. This is how Touch Designer looks. You've seen it before with Shandor. So basically you have your components, you wire them up, and most of the time you can do that without writing code, but really build a visual representation of your program. On the other hand, V4 is doing very much the same thing, but it's originated in Germany. The company is based in Berlin. We're good friends. We see each other regularly. The scope of work that's been created is pretty similar on V4 and Touch Designer. That's why I will not say more. I show a very, again, iconic work that's been created with V4 in the background here by Rafik Anadol. I think you all know it. And if you look inside a V4 patch, it looks like that. So it is not the same as Touch Designer, but they're very similar, and that's also true for the kind of people that work with them. So we find it's both extremely lovely and very helpful communities, which don't care too much about competition, but very much about empowering each other and helping out. And that's something that we want to amplify. So we offer different online courses and webinars for both V4 and for Touch Designer, and we start and we organize community meetings so that the people actually meet. We did that for mainly Berlin, because lots of people in that industry live in Berlin. But as you know, the COVID came around and it wasn't possible anymore to do workshops right in the workshop room next door, and also not to have bigger community meetings, which was very sad for us, obviously. But let's say there's a lot of negatives that goes along with it. So we basically don't have a lot of live gigs anymore. We can't do the live meetups. We can't do the live workshops. We have a bit of problem that at this moment, there's not many freelancers who would say, oh yeah, I want to rent a desk in your studio because the future is glorious and I've got all this money to spend. And we find that online interaction works great for a lot of things, but it's not a replacement for the real meetings. So in a way, it's less of the things that we like, meeting cool people, educating them, coming up with crazy projects together in a room. But it's more of the things that we don't like, spending all our day in front of computers, staring at screens. But that's not the whole story. On the other hand, we also have lots of positive. And I think the main point is that this virus has brought the world to a much needed halt. Because in the end, since modernity started, we're running blindly into one direction, and we usually don't take the time to think about why we're doing it and to what good. So this halt has given us a chance to reevaluate priorities generally for our lives, for our work. On a much more concrete note, it has allowed us to finally take the time to create a website, finally start to look into the beautiful landscape of German cultural funding to make projects which are not just commercial car presentations and stuff like that. And our anyway global audience, we can now teach to them because we are not longer depending on doing workshops in the room next door, but we do our workshops online. So suddenly we have visitors from China, from England, from France, from Italy, from India, Bangladesh, Canada, United States, and so on, which we love. So suddenly we can do less of the things that we don't like not having people from Bangladesh in our workshops, but more of the things that we like, which is connecting to talent all over the world. So what does that mean for teaching? So the virus has kind of forced that to do what our global target group wanted us to do anyway, go online with the teaching so they don't have to come to Berlin, which often they can't. What we also see is that we will step up our game. For now, we're teaching in English because that's the common denominator, but obviously we will need support for Chinese, for Spanish, and for a few other languages that have difficulties to follow in English. We generally think that for a lot of things, learning online actually works better than live workshops, but we totally miss the social aspects of learning because in the end, it's always about people and individuals and their vision, and that is a bit more difficult to get across the screen. Obviously, we live in a situation of big uncertainty because does the second wave come? How will be the lockdowns and so on? So basically from now on, we can only plan for the things that we can't know, which to me means that we need to think about hybrid forms of interaction. Which I mean with that is to kind of unify the experience of remote work together and the work in a place. So we need to find forms where it doesn't really matter if a person is here or not, we still get that feeling of being together into something. So that we can, depending on what the lockdown level is, we could always work with the same group of people, sometimes in the same space, sometimes not, but it should always feel the same. So again, for us, this means somehow that this virus has given us a unique chance to address urgent problems that the world has. You know, just because we have the virus now, climate change didn't stop, political problems all over the world didn't stop. They maybe just became more urgent, and now we really feel that now we have to address them. So yes, we connect much more to people all over the world, but we also gave a lot of our infrastructure into the hands of very few, very powerful companies. And that can become a problem in the future. And we kind of have to reevaluate how we deal with technology. So I'd like to show this picture. This shows Amish people, which is a religious sect living in the United States. And to my knowledge, they're the only people in the Western world, and probably also the rest of the world, which actually have in their communities a process where they evaluate new inventions. So they look at it, they think about what will it mean for our life? Will it change our life in a way that we don't want? And if they come to that conclusion, they don't. So these people decided that cars will be bad. They still travel from A to B. They just use a horse carriage. And they have, but that means not the bad effects that we see sometimes from cars. So this kind of approach shouldn't be only there for religious extreme people, but that's something that we all should do. We should really think about why we're doing this, what are the consequences of this. So what does it mean for design education? Obviously, we teach specific software, but on the other hand, we also teach design. And I've studied at the Bauhaus University, which is in the same buildings as the old Bauhaus, but it was refounded in 1993 with a new approach. But because we were in the Bauhaus University, we got lots of people who came and said, can you teach us how to Bauhaus? Meaning, can you teach us how to make something that looks like Bauhaus? But that's not right. Bauhaus was never about a certain style. It was always about finding appropriate solutions for the situations that you are in now. And the situation we are in now is not the situations we are in the 20s. So nobody cares about stuff looked in the 20s. It's important that we find proper solutions now. And the Bauhaus had they had one main goal, and that's design has to be a tool to make people's lives better. And that doesn't mean that your Apple Watch tells you how much calories you burned on a run. It means that you actually live a more fulfilled and a more intelligent life. And not a lot of the digital design we see really follows that goal. So again, there is a strong expectation that you teach people certain tricks. You know, people want to learn how to Bauhaus, people want to learn how to VJ, people want to learn how to projection map, but that's all just tricks. Like everybody who has real skills can learn these things by themselves. And that's where I come back to the title of this talk. It's important to teach people how to design, how to solve problems, how to learn the skills they need to solve a problem, and they've analyzed the problem. Once we manage that, we don't need to teach them like little tricks here or little tricks there, because then they can do that. So the answer today is you have to learn how to learn. The skill that you will need in the future is to learn. And so basically, for us, the content of what we teach hasn't changed through the pandemic, because we don't try to teach tricks. We try to that our students have a holistic understanding of function, materials, and the social and political and economic conditions for which they design. And yeah, my comparison is always, you can't make a good architecture if you don't know about statics. Right? All you do is make an image of architecture, but if it doesn't stand, it's not architecture. And that is very true for design, and that's also very true for interaction design. And that also means that you can't design the future without programming. So what do I think are the challenges for us, for the future, and for our whole genre? Until now, we've all been acting a bit like big kids, you know, We did what we do because we like to play with technology. Let's be honest, like children. So we're fascinated by toys. We like to play around with the stuff. We like to create some aesthetics. But it may be the time where we have to answer some uncomfortable questions about the real future of humanity. And that's not going to be the next toy and the next tool and the next marketing trick. So what we see over the world is a crisis of freedom. We see totalitarian regimes on the rise, exporting their ideas. We see the most important nation politically at the moment divided and close to a civil war, reigned by an imbecile. We see that our technology is used a lot to destroy the very habitats we're living in. And we see inequalities rising, completely unnecessary, because we could feed everybody. We have all the means. So basically, we're heading into the biggest crisis that we've seen since the Second World War. And it's time for designers and also for us to stop playing and to do things that actually solve problems for humanity. And that brings me almost to the end of my talk. I want to give a hint on the Node Forum. This is like a media art festival that's happening in Frankfurt since 2008, organized by my top partner, David Brill. And the next edition is going to be this year from the 2nd to the 8th October. And it will bring together artists, designers, researchers, and technologists to critically reflect on emerging creative practices in a dynamic hybrid format. That means that it basically happens half on the app, half in real life, because most people can't travel, what they usually would do. But the main point why I say this is the topic of this conference. And that is, it's called Second Nature, and it addresses that this whole digital world that surrounds us, we accept that as a second nature. But is it really a second nature? Is it like the first nature, right? The first nature, if we destroy it, is not going to come back. We're going to be fucked. The second nature, the phones, the screens, and so on, they're not necessary for us to survive. So we are now in a situation that we can ask, are they really good for us? How seriously do we as a community of digital creators take our share of responsibility? How can we rethink our practices, challenge our industries, and empower others to do the same? Because we have the power, we can create all this beauty, we can overwhelm people with messages, but we also should use that power. And the first step for that is the critical examination of the go-to tools and processes that have become the second nature. From imagination to implementation, if collapse is to be averted, rewriting our second nature will be key. And that's why I want to invite everybody who is watching to also join this conference, to think beyond just making great shows, to just show that a great show is possible, but to start making great shows, to actually find a way to save us on this planet and to take responsibility and not just be the people who made everything colorful. So now I've been very fast because we had very little time. Maybe I've been too fast. Anyway, I want to thank the ACC organization team, Jimmy and Pedro and Tala and Spetto for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk about our work. And I'd be very happy if you show by at the Node Institute or write at stefan.kraus@thenodeinstitute.org if you want to enter a dialogue with us. No. Spetto, how are we doing with time?
How are you, man? Oh, really, thanks, Stefan. As you can see, after so many attempts of education in 2020, we hope to inspire you in learning new skills. Now, I want to introduce you the next speaker. And now I want to introduce the next speaker. He's a VJ as me, and he's kind of a digital shaman of the 21st century. It's an honor to participate of your ACC Summit 2020, VJ Ren from Ukraine.
Oh, hi. Hello, everyone. Nice meeting you here. online. I'm very excited to be a part of this conference. Thanks a lot to ACC because I like sharing my experience and my vision. And well, I'm in media art for 8 years. I'm a pioneer in Ukraine of VJ mapping and new media art projects. And I'd like to show you my show reel of previous projects. So let's play video number 1. Overview of 3D mapping installations, LED installations, VJ, different type of events. In these 8 years, I've made more than 100 projects of different scale, and also it includes media art videos. Because my background is cinematography, I'm a film director by education. Also, I've done theatrical interactive performances like this Pixel Story that you can see, large scale mapping. It was 6 years ago in Kiev on Independence Day. And as this is my promo reel and promo of classes I made in 2017. You can see here vectors I've been teaching my students, such as VJing, 3D mapping, computer graphics, video production, interactive performance, and media art installations, and project management for sure. And my classes was called multidisciplinary media artist. So don't mix this meaning. It's not an advertisement of ecstasy, as you can think. I like to shift meanings because I think new media arts is very powerful tool of perception and of shaping our feeling of the world and of ourselves. And let's see video number 2, output of my and my students made 3 projects, very different, unique projects, mixing computer graphics and even handmade animation, and also video shooting and post-production. And I was really proud of them because it was such a huge step for them to make their own projects. As you see, I enjoy sharing my experience and my knowledge, and I have a vision of classes I'd like to do next. And now I will make a presentation of them and will comment it on. 1 minute. So the name of my next classes is multi-D. It means multidisciplinary, multidimensional, multi-digital. And as we are entering a VUCA epoch, it means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. It means that everything is unpredictable, everything is changing. The future is absolutely different than the world we knew before. So who is multidisciplinary artist in this epoch? Indeed, it's a person who keeps this visual channel of perception, who can control technology, and who can influence with owns art at society and at development of humanity and mankind. We can compare multidisciplinary media artist to a dragon. Why dragon? Because dragon is also multidisciplinary mythic creature. It has a head of dog, a paws of tiger, a body of snake, and wings. So he is able to live in different habitats, such as water, he can swim, air, he can fly, and ground, he can crawl on the ground. Also, a multidisciplinary media artist should be able to work with different techniques and technologies, evolving tools and softwares. Multidisciplinary media artist should be also very good in understanding human nature and human perception, good in directing and creating the story of his project. And also, media artist should be good at project management and in communicating to other people and creating a team. So we can compare multidisciplinary media artist to such a mythic creature as dragon. And I usually like to understand the very, very whole picture from the very beginning. Did you know that scientists now know that brain could think in 11 dimensions? Neurons could build clusters in 11 dimensions, very complex structures. And also in quantum physics theory called M theory, there is an idea of 11-dimensional multiverse. It's very complex idea that I would like to share with you in my classes, because it's really theory and really backgrounds of thinking of multidisciplinary media artists. So the point you should remember that we are also kind of multidimensional, and we will explore this in next themes and subjects. All this multiverse consists of 5 basic elements, such as fire, air, earth, water, and spirit, or ether. And there was a Greek scientist, Plato, who discovered this. And that's why these geometric solids are called Platonic bodies. And for sure, multidisciplinary media artists should be good at geometry and understanding of basic principles of what does physical form mean. Then you should know that we perceive very little amount of spectrum of waves inside ocean of waves we live in. And as you can see, we perceive very little part of visible light. That's why we can see colors, we can see light, and so on. So you should know that the world we see is somehow constructed in our perception and in our brain. So we will analyze how our visual perception is built, which neurons and sensors in your eye perceive colors or light, and how they deliver it to your brain, and how your brain constructs the picture of the world. And we will compare it to how machines see the world, how people teach machines to recognize different objects, and how neural networks nowadays reproduce our neural system. So how people copy nature to create tools such as AI and neural networks to make it a tools that also multidisciplinary media artists can use. Also, we will talk about humans as biorobots, because we are ruled by our nervous and hormonal system. And according to this system, according to how we perceive the world, we build this world outside us. So we can suggest that we've created a myth we live in. Everyone, if I say planet Earth, first you will think about nice globe with oceans and lands, and indeed it's full of satellites. We use them for communication. So somehow we've built this artificial world around us. As Stefan said before, it's kind of second nature, and we live in this myth. So we should understand that this is myth, and we should understand what is medias and new medias. So that's why we will learn a theory of media. And in my classes, I would like to focus on understanding of what is media in common. Like in 20th century, it was television invented, radio, telegraph, and then internet. And we live now in all this heritage. And to work with mediums and new medias, you should understand, first of all, the theory and ideas of Canadian thinker Marshall McLuhan, who wrote fantastic books in the 60s and 70s. So to be multidisciplinary media artist, you should understand these ideas and these backgrounds. And then we will go to tools and to arts able with computer and digital technologies. We'll learn difference, what are computer arts, what are digital arts and web arts, and what are new media arts, and what tools you can use creating new media arts. First of all, as I'm a VJ, and I use a custom setup of Resolume streaming to MedMapper or vice versa. We will learn how to use these programs for VJing, for sound reactive stuff, for playing with content and for mixing content. Then you should know about 3D mapping, how to work with forms and how to work with shapes, how to merge content to real forms using mesh warping and other techniques. Also, for 3D mapping, you should know what is computer graphic production, how to use 2D tools such as Adobe After Effects and 3D tools. Mostly I use Cinema 4D, but also you can use Blender, Maya, 3D Max or other tools. Then to create a content and to create video reports, you should be good at video production. You should be good at shooting videos, editing videos, color grading, making VFX, and so on, mastering video. You should know different formats, codecs, and types of formats to make correct output of videos for internet or live performance and so on. Also, you should be good with interactive performance, such as Kinect or other types of sensors that use Z-depths, maybe lip motion or Kinect Azure or other sensors using infrared cameras. And you should also understand not only how to make an installation, but what's the difference in a media art installation? What makes it an art object? As you can see here on the picture, this is installation I've done 5 years ago with 3D mapping of 100 dandelions set under the ceiling of one cafe. And for sure, to make projects, you should be good at project management. How to make an agreement, how to prototype your projects, how to build a team, how to make a promo, and how to show off your art. Then we will get to know the world stage of new media arts, such as festivals, events, places and people where you can send your works or take a part. Also, there is a must-see list of movies, of cinematography, background, and also documentary films you should know to be able to work with visual perception. and to understand what's an artistic image and how to create a story. And also, you should know books, a list of books, background of ideas and theories you should read, or at least to get know them, to be able to name yourself a multidisciplinary media artist. So that's all about my presentation. If I have time, no, I have no time. Maybe a short video, okay? This is my recent project. Now I'm working on touchless user interface, able to work with installations and also in future web content. Well, I will open it. So it's called Solitary Space. It was performed at Ukrainian Fashion Week 2020. As you see, I always start with conceptualization with renders. It's a room with a projection on 3 walls with a Kinect sensor for interaction. And we've made interactive menu, and visitors were able to control with this wirelessly. You will see now. Even little girl understand how to work with this. So you can dive into some content and watch it. You can modify it using some distortion effects. It's built in Touch Designer also. Actually, we've used even 2 Kinects. And as you can see, it's immersive. So we've made special mapping content to make people feel that there are no walls there, like they're on some digital planet. And you can see also some interaction with Kinect, point cloud silhouettes. So this is a prototype of a user interface we're working right now. So I welcome you to be multidisciplinary media artists, to be like a dragon, powerful, with different tools, with very strong theory background. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your attention.
Vijay Ray, that was amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Spirituality in the new media. Very important. I'm giving some time to Jeff to rest. He's doing a great job. Remember, we are all being translated to Chinese. We are being listening and watched over 1,000 people. So I want now to introduce the next guest. He's calling from Berlin. He's actually from France, I think. And let's have Mautik. Mautik, are you in the other side?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Super.
It's with you.
So I will just introduce myself and share my screen now. So my name is Mathieu Le Sourd, but also known as Mautik. I'm a new media artist based in Berlin. I'm from France, but I've been like traveling a bit everywhere. I've been spending a lot of time in Montreal lately. And my work is focused on the interactive installation, immersive experiences, and audiovisual performance. I work with musicians, composer, and scientists, architects to create like a public art installations and also audiovisual sculpture. I'm gonna share my screen with you now. Okay. It doesn't change the slide. Okay, now it should be all right. So for people who are familiar with my work maybe aesthetically looks very different from each other, but it's very important to understand where I started from, and where like each of my work actually are based on the same architecture, the same principles. I'm completely obsessed by generative art and the art of probability, the way we can actually like create randomness, create like an algorithm to generate like audio, to generate visual, but becomes no intelligence, but become like so random, but actually it can react to different ways and to different, can interpret like data in different manner. So I study, I studied in Barcelona and London. I did a digital media production degree in London Institute, and then I moved to Barcelona where I did a master in digital arts. And this book actually was one of my main reference when I started to study in this university. So it's from this Italian philosopher called Umberto Eco, who died recently, I think 2 years ago. But compared to nowadays, we talk a lot about like artificial intelligence or machine learning, and how actually like a machine can actually process the data instead of human. But for me, I'm completely like against this kind of mentality, because according to Umberto Eco, each performance can actually be like so open, but can give like so much creative aspect in terms of improvisation. So when the performer or the artist can decide actually the evolution of the art piece. And for me, was something that really inspired me, this book, where each performance can be different each time according to the choice of the performer. So my idea was always like to build system, but like actually can change according to information, data, or according to the improvisation of the musicians, or according to your mood. Like sometimes you have like energy flowing in the space, and you can actually like take it and improvise in different ways. So my first actually project was in 2004 when I finished my master degree in digital art in Barcelona, and I called it Alive. And the idea was to create an ecosystem with different microorganisms. So one was male, the other was female. And these two actually species would live in an ecosystem, and they would just live and have like musical information on them. And each time they will bump into each other, they will create a third species, which actually would live at the same way, and they will just like interact between each other. They get born, reproduce themselves, and then die. And the musical actually evolutions will change according to the number of species into this ecosystem, but will die after a while, and then will just reproduce other kind of species with different musical information. So it was like a way actually to do a completely random musical composition that would evolve completely in a random way according to the movement of those microorganisms. And this actually piece, which was very simple in terms of aesthetic, really inspired me for the next work I've been doing the last years. Flow was a piece I did in Ars Electronica, this new media festival in Austria, in Linz, that started in 1979. They have a space called the Deep Space, and this space is like a 8 meter by 15 meter long screen, and they have actually the same distance on the floor. And they asked me to create another visual piece, their installation. And my idea for this display was to recreate an ocean. I've been I grew up by the seaside, and I always been very impressed by the way the landscape change according to the weathercast, according to some weather data. So my idea was to connect myself to a database where I could retrieve 11 parameters of the location of the city I would connect myself. So I choose 10 cities by the sea, and the idea was to change the connection of the city every 2 minutes. So the system will listen to the weathercast data, parameters like the humidity, the wind position, the position of the moon, the temperature, if it's sunny, if it's raining, the wind direction, with the wind speed. And those information will actually get into the system and morph the ocean into this kind of immersive audiovisual sculpture that will change all the time. So there will be also a projection on the floor. You can see on the image where there is a sensor that tracks the movement of the people, and we create this kind of really abstract digital wave on the floor. And the system evolves also aesthetically from a really digital aesthetic, like a mesh distortion, to some kind of aesthetic where I've been working much more through the time, like this one. And lately, this is some kind of aesthetic I reach to manage. This is Montevideo in Uruguay. So this is the data that is reading. This is Vic in Iceland, Manila in the Philippines, and you can see now this in movement. So that gives this kind of very mesmerizing audiovisual sculpture that change all the time and can be really interesting, as it's never the same. This actually work inspired me for the next one. There was a case, I finished one work, but I think I can reach to one certain point, and it inspires me to start a new one from the last one I ended up. So this one, AIO, is actually the name of a drone, military drone, but it's from Canada, but it's just the name of a drone that is used for military purposes. And I'm very interested as well to criticize how society uses the technology. And nowadays, AIO are used for artistic purpose. They can be used for taking photography, taking videos from the bird's view perspective, but they can also be used as a military purposes or spying. So it's also something that can be used in different ways according to how we are using technology. And it was interesting as well to take this topic and to make a art piece. I did an installation, also audiovisual artwork. So the idea of this work was to take Google Maps and to scan actually the area where I was presenting this artwork, So, for instance, if I was presenting in Seoul, in South Korea, I would just take Google Maps, place my camera at 500 meters from the ground, and create this kind of pathway all around the city of Seoul. And we just take pictures frame by frame in different positions. And then I have another software called Image Compositor that will take each picture one by one and recognize which pixel was supposed to be next to each other pixels. And instead of giving me many images, he would just stick them together and give me this very high resolution picture of 50,000 pixels by 50,000 pixels. And then those information, I would put them directly into my 3D generative software called Touch Designer and replace the camera at the same height up from the ground and use a joystick actually to manipulate this virtual drone in the space. Then I would take the cartography texture and use 3D instances or 3D a mesh to actually give an interpretation of what the drone is actually seeing. And also the system uses data, GPS data. So the system and the sound change and the aesthetic change according if the drone is flying over a city, if it's flying over a forest, a lake, or the sea. So actually gives me all this kind of interpretation tool that can also play with it. So this is kind of aesthetic that you can see in many artists. This is a forest. So this is two pieces that I was actually taking data, and as I was telling before, I work a lot with music composer to create audiovisual piece that sometimes can be audio reactive, but sometimes can be connected to a MIDI signal or also different frequencies. And at the beginning, when I started to work with composer, everything was well written from their part, and it was generative art piece. At the same time, I was using code to generate visuals, but the music itself wasn't really improvised. So at the same time, I always ask myself, why doing it in a real time and generative, or why not doing it as a pre-render when there's no surprise in terms of data? So that was one part of my work when I started to work with musicians, and I had this opportunity to collaborate with Argentinian composer from Buenos Aires called Nicolas Benman, and we were invited to work to do collaboration in Mutec in Argentina, and we didn't barely knew each other, and I didn't know what kind of music he was playing before arriving there, and we just met each other one night in the studio, and he showed me a bit how he was working. And actually, Nicolas, compared to electronic musician, doesn't use much a rhythm, or there is no a kick drums, which is very easy to make audio reactive when you're a VJ, when you listen to electronic music. But he only play analog instruments, a small percussions, and also a small flute. And he's also do field recording. Anyway he goes, when he travels, he record a bit of the soundscape of the city and then incorporate it into his musical composition. So which was very interesting as well for me to work with him, because it's completely improvised from his part. So I had to build like an improvising system as well. And in one night, I had prepared some stuff before meeting him, and I just realized that he wasn't working at all. So I created like this kind of system, which is based on the mesh distortion and the sound frequency. Actually, like take the sound inputs of his system into my sound card and create like the left and right like frequency and convert them into a texture that will create this kind of fluid texture, and this will actually like extrude like the 3D, and this actually gives this result. So this is like some kind of effect you can reach using this kind of very improvising like system, and it's very interesting because each time you play, you don't know how the system will react, and you can actually create this kind of digital painting in real time. And I really like this project. Yeah. Then still in data, this is last project I will show you during this presentation, but I did this residency in Portugal where they have like a nanotechnology group, and they invited me to spend like 1 week with researcher, but actually study atoms and with the very high-end microscope. But one of the unique microscope I can actually film atoms. And my idea for this project was to recreate. To create the experience of how like the scientists work using those tools, because I thought to be interested to do interpretation and to create an interactive art installation that could allow like the public to actually manipulate this kind of customized microscope and to observe some patterns and to see their reaction onto audiovisual installation. So I created like this hardware called the wavelength of light that actually measures the grayscale of different pixels, and according to the grayscale, we create this kind of micro cosmos landscape that will actually also process some sound. And on the left side, there were also like a virtual reality helmet where the user could actually see the atoms in a 3D perspective and could also manipulate it using a joystick that was set up on the table. And this is a short video here, that give you an idea. So that's it for this presentation. You can see more of my work on maotic.com. I'm also going to launch my studio, maoticstudio.com, but will be ready very soon. And thank you for your attention and your time, and wish you a nice evening.
Thank you so much, Mauti. It was a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to speak a little bit slower so Jeff can do some resting and translating. We are now getting to the Q&A session. I have the pleasure to be with Tala here with me directly in Zoom. Hi Tala, how are you? Great to have you here. We have the start now of a lot of feedback. We getting there? Okay. We are in the Q&A. And
Okay.
there
Hello,
you
everyone.
go. Magic.
Yes.
Nice to see you, Tala. Tala is the great organizer and producer from the ACC.
That's
And
right.
she's in Central Europe.
In Ukraine, as two of
I am in Brazil. And Jimmy, festival organizer also. He's in China. It's a really crazy schedule to have all this going.
Oh,
Hi, Jimmy.
hello. Hi, Pedro, Natalia. How
Hello,
are you?
Jimmy.
Yeah.
So,
It is very, very interesting for we have the many very powerful educations, the teacher here to share the experience to all the world. And I very interesting about their artwork. Also, Malti, Sandro, Evgeny, Stephen, BJ Rankers, they have the many experience. So I think we can have some answer and question for them because I saw Chinese people, some students, they ask how they learn. So I think this is a very good question for the student.
how many people we had in China watching us?
Let's see. Now was the 1,300.
Wow, that's really impressive. Ni hao to everyone in China. So, Natalie, do you want to say some words?
I'm just happy that we made it. I mean, at least we do not have 24-hour daytime difference. It's only morning, noon, and evening, night for China. So let's start our Q&A session right now.
Thank you very much. So let's call our guests. Hello everyone, how are you doing? You all good?
Damit soll ich benutzen in dieser Konferenz. Everything alright?
Everything good. How are you, Maltik? It was good?
I'm fine,
You came,
thanks, yeah.
You came like a rock star right in the last minute. I like your style. Vachenko, did you enjoy your time? And Vijay Ray, I love your sunglasses style. In a minute, I'll put my sunglasses for the style. And Spito, did you enjoy the conference?
Oh, for sure. We have very good speaks here. I think that our audience is very curious and to ask some questions to them.
Go on, make us some questions.
So, we have a first one. It's about the VJ community. So I think that all of my friends here could answer that, but let's start. I think that the question is, what are the new ways and perspectives to exchange inside the VJ community? We could start with maybe another VJ Rain.
What are perspectives to exchange inside of VJ community? Well, we live in an online world, so internet is a great way of communication, and there are a lot of communities in such as Facebook groups supporting touch designer, as mentioned before, and United VJs and VJ Europe and worldwide VJs. So I found that it's pretty easy to communicate if you have something cool to show off, or if you have a question on some subject or tool. So usually VJs are open people and will ask you questions and support. Well, as for me, I usually do like this. There is nothing secret about the technologies we have. So if everyone will know VJing, so this will be great. So that's my opinion. And we can communicate in the internet and using social medias. Oh, there could be different options in the case of classes. For example, recording videos and then showing them and then discussing. So that's my opinion.
Okay, great to see your vision. And or other friends like, for example, Maochiki. There's a question here. I think that's a good question for you. What type of audiovisual experience can help to explore these new human sensibilities?
Well, for me, what I'm interested now is about like physicality of the sound and how sound actually can imitate how nature works, or how like natural environments can process this kind of sound design. And there's more and more like people interested in this kind of surrounding installations with a lot of bass and a lot of sound that can appear like from different positions. And when it's like matching with light or like visual together, can create this kind of new language, new narrative that is something that many people, I think, would be interested to experience. And like I had this experience to work inside dome. So in a dome, you can actually change the position of you can change the perspective of the architecture. And sometimes like you feel in a small room, sometimes inside a tunnel, and this kind of experience is kind of physical. So I think it's a bit like this kind of immersive experience are a bit the future somehow.
Oh, nice. And Pedro, do you have some questions for our speakers?
Do I? Yes, I must have some questions. I was having fun with all this technology that we are using here. Can we have Jimmy on the picture now? Because Jimmy was his wheel and he wanting. There you go. Hi, Jimmy. How you doing?
I'm fine.
It's great
I'm
to be
just
surrounded with so many people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our Chinese guests made any good questions? Because, guys, so you know, we are being streamed on this network called Bilibili, which we have is actually now 1,246 people watching us. And I was wondering if there was any questions from our audience in China that you think was good asking.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday and before yesterday, we made a list for all the questions. I saw many guys. They asked 3 questions. The first question was how they learn the new media art, because I think many students was in here. And the second was how about the night trip to use the new media art. And the last, they hope to know the future about the new media art. So I saw many students, they asked these 3 questions.
So that's pretty heavy questions. How can they learn? What is the future? I think we can go with those 2. So guys, I think we are all here because you have a very important role in the education in Europe. So can you tell us a little bit more on how they can learn new media in China? without being in Europe, let's say internet and these kind of things. I'm not going to ask you how you learn it, but you have workshops. You travel the world teaching people. People goes to Berlin, to Ukraine, the big cities. How can they learn if they can't travel to you?
Yeah.
Stefan.
So I think
Well, I mean, for once, they can study in Germany, which is always a good option, right? There's lots of Chinese students here in Germany, and I think for most people, a good way to start is anyway to study art and design, because I mean, technology is one thing, technology is always going to change. Basically, if you learn a certain technology, that's not going to take you very far. So you need to learn how to actually design, how to solve problems. And they're the best ways to start studying design, is my opinion. If you then want to be more
do you mind I stop you there? Jeff, can you translate that? Because that was pretty cool.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. And Maotik, do you have any similar suggestions? Or anything do you want to add?
Yeah, I teach at the Code University, like a curiosity-driven school in Berlin, and yeah, most of my students have different backgrounds. Some of them are more like engineer, developers, some more into like design. I think like coding is a very important part of the new media art process, as well as design, as say Stefan. It's really mix of both, and it's really to understand how you can use technology to express your something, art, or so like make some kind of things much more usual or useful, like data visualization of things. But I think you also need to put yourself much into coding at the same time.
Can you get to translate that, Jeff? Thank you, Maotik. And Vijay Rai, how can the students learn with you?
It's a good question. First of all, to platform how we build an education with Acsee. I'm good in video production, so for me, it's easy to create video content, for example, lectures, and then interact via web.
Thank you, Rai. And Vachenko, what about you? How can the students learn with you?
This is a really great question. I can try answer maybe universal answer. The process of future depends from now, and the now depends from the moments before. And what we have now is a lot of technologies and a lot of approaches. And what we do, we just connecting the approaches and technologies based on the experience before to create some art. When we create some art and working hard with this process, we can get some kind of masterpiece. So I think this is the way.
That's fantastic. Okay. I'm going to give a little bit time for Jeff. And now we have the pleasure to have Shandor. Hi, Shandor.
I'm so sorry because I was
No worries, no worries. It's okay. I have a question for you.
Yes.
How can the students learn with you?
How or what?
How? Or do they have to go to Paris? Do they have to get a flight?
Oh, they're absolutely welcome to come to Paris. So I have a kind of a big duplex studio, you know. We have so yeah. So I don't know. Actually, anything goes because I'm teaching in two private art school in Paris already, and so I have experience in that. I'm teaching another audio school, SAE Institute, so it's kind of it's for audio engineers so I don't know. I'm more about applied art. At least my kind of my life and my career did that for me. Let's say so. I'm working for government and for brands and for kind of more live shows because of my background. And so I'm perhaps I have a practical approach to things because I have always someone that I need to work with, either client, either artist, either government, either anything. So I need to iterate and to communicate with people. So hopefully this is something that I can teach.
Great. So I have a question for all of you, which is regarding this same one. What is the future? Just to give it a little bit of context, I'm actually reading out a bunch of questions remixed from the audience. Jeff. And many of the questions were these: how can they learn with you? And the other one is about the future, and I can add on a little bit. What about the 5G? Yesterday we were talking about it during the first day of the festival. Game engines and 5Gs, textures being rendered online, just delivered to your device, high quality video and whatever you want to call it on your handheld device. Can you tell some words about your vision of unlimited internet speed and video, which I guess it's what touches all? What do you think about the future?
Well, I mean, if I may pitch in, I think as long as we have so many people on Earth who don't even have 1G internet, I don't think that the future is with 5G internet. The future is with getting those people who cannot learn anything from us because they don't even have access to the internet into the internet before we think about streaming 4K computer games.
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but the idea of this conference is to tell about the VJs, not our it's video. Of course, I understand.
What about the VJs in countries which don't even have 1G? Shouldn't we be more concerned about them?
Well, if they have 5G delivered to their device, they can jump to the 22nd century.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that's a little bit democratic, independently of the health conditions and what we can deliver. Of course, my opinion is obvious. We should help everyone. No one should starve, never. But this conference is about video art, not our personal political visions. So I would just ask you, or else it will be funny. So I will ask you about video and your professional artistic practice, which is what we are talking here. How do you think your professional artistic practice in the future with unlimited internet speed? Because want it or not, that's going to come.
In my artistic practice, I try to use more simple devices as possible.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Because I think...
Yeah, I always try to use most simple devices in my artistic practice to make it simple. To make technological side simple and to make more effective artistic work in this process.
We had a glimpse of high internet from Paris. Chandler has 1 gigabyte upload internet. You killed it.
Don't
made us
don't
very
hold it
jealous.
against me, please. So
I think there was a little bit of glimpse. You were able to play audio-visual perfectly, no delay. Would that be the future, you think? Will be everyone in each location?
it's becoming more normal, I think. But it depends, of course, on the government push and everything. And I think a lot of governments and a lot of countries understand that the future of economy is basically digital, and they're trying to push it as well as they can. Yeah. But just in general about the future of entertainment, which we were talking with a couple of my friends just perhaps 2 weeks ago. I think what will be interesting to see, it will be kind of a, once again, I'm sorry, it's my theme was hybrid prototype, and so once again I think it will be hybrid thing, because I'm still all for physical experience. I want to go to the museum, I want to see space, I want to see the physical space, I want to take part in a concert. Virtual everything has really its limits, as we can see during the lockdown, I think, because it's difficult to feel anything just watching a screen, watching a concert or replay or anything. So I think the future of entertainment, it's really kind of a hybrid thing. When you can see the projection mapping and the people who can kind of can take their phones and can perhaps get with augmented reality, personalize their mapping for them, perhaps in the phone, and someone else perhaps that home perhaps that cannot take part in a light festival or mapping festival, for example in Lyon in France, they perhaps can participate another way. They can try to influence this, I don't know, projection mapping.
That's a really good point, because that was really the first question. It was the next question I was telling you, because it's actually what where you have mentioned, I'm sorry. Wasn't it, Speto? One of the first question is, how do you think the augmented reality, like you just mentioned, will affect the video mapping world? And on another point, yesterday, we talked actually about this point, about the hybrid. Well, you call it hybrid now. Yesterday we call it something else, but it was something that would happen in reality and virtual in the future. So the virtual will not stop, will be just an add-on to the reality of the sweat and the human contact. So I guess the augmented reality will be a path. Do you think you see a future in augmented reality and video mapping?
I don't know. I think it's a really, augmented reality is just one of the multiple possibilities today. I think it's really kind of a multi-channel delivery of entertainment. If I'm there, good for me. I don't like, for example, to take my phone in a concert, to take a picture. I hate it. I want to be there. I want to enjoy the space. For the people perhaps that more, I don't know, technology centric, they can perhaps just, I don't know, as a gadget perhaps at the beginning, but they can perhaps personalize something. They can influence, but in their phone. So you can have as many mappings as there are people actually, and they can perhaps record their own mapping in their phone, just in sync with the kind of a main projection mapping. And the people at their homes can influence the choices of the projection mapping by statistical analysis, by the way. For example, by the choice of the colors or movements, and something like that already is done, like in Montreal for the bridge Jacques Cartier. It's generative light show basically that assembles a lot of voting from all over the web. So it's kind of for me, it's really channel delivery of entertainment, which will be interesting, that people can be in person, can use device, or can be completely kind of observers as a wallpaper on the screen, for example.
Let's give Jeff some time to translate that. That was a great idea. Thanks for sharing that with us. Does anyone want to share anything else about the video art practice?
Yeah. If you may, I would like to continue Shandor's idea. And according to Marshall McLuhan, medias are extension of our nervous system. So we already have a sensor, our body, to perceive with our 5, let us say, senses. Now we have this digital sixth sense developing. And as Shandor mentioned that there are a list of additional sensors, additional medias, it's augmented reality or 3D mapping or webcam translation. And in this case, you have a lack of this live energy, like when you're physically present somewhere. And a lot of information you can feel just online, because your physical body receives a lot of more information, just only visual and audio and so on. Their energy field somehow. And this is something new medias cannot solve by this moment. And the future of development of all this digital communication, also we need to go to the background. We have internet. It came out of telecommunication, radio and television, and from a press also, yes. And our
Oops, I think we lost him in the communication. What happened? He's still there with me, guys, yes?
Yes.
So, I think that was pretty cool from Vijay Rain to share that with us. We getting to the very last minutes of our second day conference of the ACC Summit. Would you like to add anything, to say anything to the 1,000 people watching us in China? Make sure you give some time to be translated.
Hopefully we can meet in person one day.
Yeah, I think if you want to get into VJing, you have to start. That's the way to learn it. And then to look for teachers. It's all about you doing it. And if you start doing it, it will come to you. I promise.
And I can say the creation of media art is a simple process, basically. So no worries. But it is really interesting, and we can make transformation of how it could be complicated. Thank you.
And if you may, I just I'd like to continue. I press.
No. This is the last minutes we're finishing. This is the last message you want to send for our 1,000 people watching us.
It
We're in
will
the
all
last
develop.
minute.
Just be the part of it. Start from something and feel the tools that you like to create. That's the main point.
Just do it.
You want to say something, Mautik?
No, yeah, just be curious and learn by yourself, you know. And yeah.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for being on the second day. People are saying thank you in China to you and to the rest of the world, of course. So let's have just thank you. We're going to say bye. Now we're going to have Speto, Pedro, Natalia, and Zaz on the thing. So bye bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Ciao.
That was really fun, guys. We're just missing Jimmy on the image. He's coming any moment. I am sure. It's going to space. There you go. Hi, Jimmy. How you doing?
Yep.
Nice to be here with you.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Would you like to say some last words in English and Chinese for all the audience?
Yeah. I hope in the coming future we can bring all the best artists to China, and we hope all the students can learn more from ACC. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Tala, would you like to say some words?
Okay. Thank you everyone who's joining us on this summit, first and second day. And as you can learn from this today, the main thing is just to start, and ACC is going to provide you a lot of opportunities to make it real. So stay in touch.
Thank you so much. So I say by myself. Thank you, guys. I'm going to send it to Speto now. It was a really pleasure to be here with you. Thank you, Jeff, for being there, translating for us all this hard time. Ni hao and Chen Chen to everyone in China. And I'll see you in the next edition. It was a really pleasure. Speto is with you.
So we are now finishing the ACC Summit 2020, this 100% online edition of our festival, and it was a pleasure to be with all of you during these 2 days. And as I told you yesterday, we have people from a lot of countries around the world thinking the future of the new media art. So I hope that all this activity inspired all of you, and let's create. Bye.
Yeah.